You guys are intellectual capital that you don't know how to turn into cash. You don't know how to turn a nice person into cash. And that's what you want. You got to learn how to translate your intellectual capital into cash. Right? I mean, just even this program right here. I mean, if I was working with Dan, I would promote that. I'd let people should know that there's a place where you can go where somebody really won't rip you off, meaning they're only thinking of themselves. And if people knew about that, on a larger scale, he'd have more people, but he might not want more people because he's comfortable. That's the part I never understood. Somebody being comfortable with anything. I didn't understand that logic. Because for me, what I sold my brain was, I have a responsibility to do everything I can, versus part of everything I can is to be balanced.
There's actually two sides of it. One side is, I am comfortable. The other side is, I don't know how. So there's really both of those.
Well, anybody that wants to know how, that's willing to take a risk, then we can talk. Yeah.
So my dad has written a couple of books, and he's working on his third book right now. It's basically with the FDA and everything going on with the industry. And one thing that we've been trying to get him is to get on a talk show. What kind of connections? Do you have connections with talk show hosts?
It's not the connection, it's the format of what to present to the talk show.
Right.
You don't really need to know anybody. I mean, people say, oh, I know this person. Oh, that opens the door. But, I mean, I was at a pitch meeting with Alon, my partner, at Oprah Winfrey's new network she's starting. You're in the door. But if you don't have something that they want, what's the difference?
Right.
So with your dad, if he's got, let's say, something that people would be interested in, it's how do you format a press release, and then who do you get it to, and then how do you follow up? That's really not that difficult. Yeah. But if you don't know, then it's really difficult. I mean, it's like the guy that goes up to the girl and says, you don't want to dance with me. He doesn't know that he's shooting himself in the foot. So a lot of people don't know that they're doing that. So again, like with Dan, with this, what I'd simply say is here, I'd put this in this type of a format, and I'd get it out to every single radio, newspaper, magazine, and publication within an hour of where you live. And somebody's going to say, hey, next thing you know, he's on a talk show, a radio talk show. Then he takes that talk show, puts it on his website. Then he sends another press release out to a newspaper, and they see that on his website he was on a radio show. Next thing you know, now he's got an article in the newspaper. Then he's got an article in the newspaper and the talk show, and he sends that to the national talk shows. Next thing you know, that's how it goes. But you got to know what the steps are. You know, what's first, what's second, what's third, and what's the format.
Yeah, I can see he has been on a lot of different radio shows, some syndicated, and it's really, because it is a very powerful book. And the new one, which is titled American Guinea Pig, talks about how all of us are the pharmaceutical companies' guinea pigs testing all the drugs out there. It's going to be huge, but he needs to get the publicity out there and finding, he needs to get on a show.
Well, I've got a woman, but here's what she did for me. She's a producer for me. She's half Japanese, half Czechoslovakian, which is a very unusual mix. And she's very, I thought I was aggressive. This woman is unbelievably aggressive, but she does it with a smile, so nobody gets mad at her. So I don't know if you've heard of the band Linkin Park, but it's a band, and she wanted to use one of their songs for one of the nonprofits she was with. She called them every day for 6 months, and they finally just acquiesced and said, please don't bother us anymore. And they said, yes. We did you could go on our website, we covered, my kids show, covered the Holocaust Memorial they have every year, for the concentration people, and well, for the survivors and their families, right? So the mayor was there, the consulate was there, the ambassador to the UN was there, and she got us, for me and my kids, to be able to go in and out of everywhere, interview everybody on video, and basically it was as if it was our event, and it didn't cost us anything. And that's the woman that your dad wants to talk to. Yeah. Somebody like that, where she just gets it. Yeah. She says, well, look, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to do it, and she can do it in 15 minutes because she understands it. Yeah. So if you email me, I'll give you her name, you call her, and I just referred her to a guy that is, they're doing an opening for Palm Springs Golf Course. And they want to turn into an event, and they don't have an event person. And she just gets that stuff. She just understands it. And she can ask people things because it makes sense for the event and get them to agree. You know, whereas I, of course, would use the wrong approach and piss them off. But she, you know, she uses the woman thing. But that's what he needs. He needs to package this thing and present it. Because what's your name?
Kimberly?
Because if Kimberly is somebody that has a talk show, she simply wants to read something in a format that lets her know that you get what she wants. And she reads it, she goes, I gotta talk to this guy. Versus if it's not in the right format, she's like, oh, this, why even bother? This can't be significant, otherwise it would be presented to me in the language that I want it presented to me in, right? Not a 5-page press release, a 1-page press release. And all the information is done in the way that she expects it. Then she's going to be more interested, versus your book could be 10 times better than it is now, and she's not interested because the approach was wrong. So, the approach is the key, especially if you've got a good product. Anybody else? Thank you very much. If you guys ever have any questions, you can email me and I'll email you back. And I accept prayers because I'm a Christian. Because I'm taking a Kabbalah class.
Thank you, John.
I'm not changing my mind.
Well, I want to thank you all for showing up here. This is pretty much going to wrap it up. I think we can probably see now that it's not 2 o'clock where things are quiet. It's probably more like 3 o'clock, so I'm not quite sure what we're going to do.
Oh, later started for me.
Right, we'll figure it out as we go. Another place if we need to. Yes.
I thought this room was pretty,
Be right back. I gotta get some
if
cards.
you're out there, it's terrible, but
In here, it's not too bad. Thank you, John.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some cards.
Okay. So yeah, you know, this little space in here is pretty good, but obviously it took until practically, what time is it now? 3:40, so we're approaching 4 o'clock, and another half hour is going to be busy for dinner.
Well, what does everybody think about Rusty's? There's the Rusty's on Carrillo. They have an upstairs private area where we would have no noise.
Let's absolutely try it for our next meeting. I think the next meeting is just going to be a networking thing amongst ourselves, because we talked about you know, doing 1 month where there's a speaker, the next month where it's just us. So why don't we just do us next month at that location, and if that doesn't work for some reason, we'll just keep moving around until we find something that does.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thanks, Dan.
I got it. Okay, good questions.
Okay, so I send this.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let me print this thing off here.